I'm debating this guy on Thursday over this. Let's see real quick. This is his debate strategy, somebody said.
Now, I've been watching the progressive meltdown. You see, here's how it works. Here's how it's all spinning out. You see,
but he also could have. But
what's been going on is that over there on X, Elon Musk is sick of progressive bull. He seems to not like them very much. I don't blame him because progressives are the most annoying people on planet Earth. But you see, progressives are very upset because they're used to doing their crybaby bull, where they fall on the ground and they kick and they scream and they shout and screech at the top of their lungs, and then some moderator comes and bans you on their behalf. Oh my God, oh, you misgendered me! You misgendered me! Ah! Musk said, nah. That the tactics don't work anymore.
He said it and then confirmed it. Well, if he said it and then confirmed it, then maybe he was trying to lie about it and get away with it. But I didn't see that in the video. If you want, you can link to the video in a timestamp. We can watch it.
So now we get to watch as Destiny melts down on Piers Morgan. We get to watch as Not So Erudite melts down about Destiny's meltdowns. We get to watch it. All of them are... Okay, so this is actually a good point. If you're actually... Your rhetoric is to tell people that if they are to do something which is violent, they're...
Andrew Wilson is a bad faith debater. Be very careful. He commits to way too many fallacies and very... Yeah, I am aware of it. My guess is going to be that if we have this debate, my guess is going to be that it's going to be a 3-hour debate and it's going to be a 2-hour and 55-minute debate on what insurrection means. That'd be my guess, but who knows?
If you're actually... Your rhetoric is to tell people that if they are to do something which is violent, they're actually stopping a, a rehash of World War II. Of course, lunatics are going to act on that. So Ruben's point here is well taken. Coach Nato for $10 says a child could have walked on that roof in Crocs. Yeah, well, I mean...
Biden's bullseye comment, as irresponsible as it may be.
6. And audio from the Sangamon County Dispatch states a contradiction from Sonia Massey's official cause of death. A criminal investigation states Massey was shot in the face by Sean Grayson. Here is audio after the shooting.
Just confirm self-inflicted. Chill out. Abbey County's update. I didn't. Self-inflicted. Okay, thank you.
We asked Sangamon County if they knew who contacted dispatch and told them the gunshots were self-inflicted.
Is this even the same cop? What are we even talking about? This could have just been a communication or whatever. Is this even the same cop that's doing it? Is it?
An official tells Fox Illinois he was not aware of the audio or who would have made that claim. And civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who is representing Massey's family, will be at the funeral tomorrow. He released a statement today saying, in part, quote, today's decision by the judge to hold Deputy Sean Grayson in custody without bail marks another crucial step in the pursuit of justice for some.
Okay. I don't know who made the call. Okay. Fuck. Is there anything of value in here? I don't feel like listening to him.
Or anyone else's specific comment, but over time in culture, if things get normalized, and yes, this man is going to put us in camps, and you can turn on MSNBC on any given day, and they're talking about how they're all going to be arrested and taken off the air, and what he's going to do to minorities and gays and everything else, all utter, complete nonsense. At some point, people might get a subtle message and then do something crazy. Again, we don't know if that was what happened.
No shit. Of course that. Yeah, of course.
Let me bring in Destiny, because you've been at the centre, as you know, of a massive online response to what you were saying. And I want to go through what you said, and I want to talk to you about this hopefully in a calm manner to try and understand.
You can see the shit-eating grin is Destiny.
Would defining insurrection even matter to him? He already knows it's bullshit, but he just wants to control the convo's direction. Defining insurrection, Trump's behavior is indefensible, 100%. So in order to defend it, you have to go into lawyer mode. Which isn't necessarily bad, by the way. So the way to defend it is to try to say, like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about the morals or ethics of it. Let's talk about the criminality of it, because you're calling for a criminal investigation. So let's talk about the criminality of it, which is also fair. So then you would say, okay, well, now define an insurrection. Let's start here. Define an insurrection. And in the definition of an insurrection, it's going to be just like debating with vegans. The goal is to define insurrection either so precisely and narrowly that it can't possibly qualify, or to define it so broadly that, oh, well, if that's an insurrection, then all these other events have been insurrections. And every single time, somebody protests, it's an insurrection. So now your argument is absurd. That's my guess, Rhetoric. But who knows? We'll see.
He's about to have to defend the indefensible. However, because this is a more mainstream cable-style network that he's on, his typified Socratic method or the Spurging method when he gets called out or caught red-handed isn't going to work. He's going to have to use concise rhetoric, and Destiny is not good at concise rhetoric and never has been, ever. It's immediate gish gallop, and if it's not a gish gallop, then he moves over to Spurging. Those are the two modes of the Coomer Gremlin. Very rarely are any of the points concise and the rhetoric particularly sharp.
Being concise and gish galloping only in an illusory sense are related to each other. Gish galloping typically refers to trying to stack so many arguments against your opponent that you that even if they're all bullshit, you've overwhelmed them with bullshit and they can't respond. You can lack conciseness and still not gish gallop. So these two things don't really relate to each other, but
On Saturday evening, hours after the shooting, you said, let me clarify, when I say conflicted, what I mean is I lean towards seeing it as a natural extension of the thing Trump and the MAGA kids support. So I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt enough to chastise people celebrating it. You couldn't find it in your heart to chastise people for celebrating the near assassination of a man who was president of the United States and maybe again?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry, and the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country's seen in recent history, that they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation, is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, you call somebody a Nazi for so long, what do you expect people to do? I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the...
Was a fucking communist. Rush Limbaugh was right.
Okay, base.
Rush was right. Obama was a fucking communist. Absolutely, 100%. He was a commie.
Radio. You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us. You've got COVID lockdowns that were done because the government's trying to
Gish Gallop, Gish Gallop.
take all your freedom away. They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th. They say that the election was stolen, that your country's being taken from you. Like, I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should go and kill anybody.
This doesn't even make sense to call this a gish gallop. Like, I've made an argument, and these are all just like supporting legs of the argument, right? Conservatives have engaged in bad rhetoric or dangerous rhetoric. They've done A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? These are all supporting points for my conclusion, for my argument, right? I don't know how this is a gish gallop. It would be a gish gallop if I were to say, like, conservatives have been turning up the temperature for a long time and it's bullshit. And conservatives have, they told the FBI that they were going to go out and kill everybody. And Donald Trump is in bed with Putin, and that's why he's doing this. And this is why Elon Musk, like, that would be a gish gallop. I'm laying out a whole bunch of separate arguments, all trying to attack the same point, laying out one argument and doing like tons of different premises. I mean, I guess if every premise maybe was bullshit, you could say maybe that's a gish gallop, but
when you engage in this type of rhetoric and when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again, there is absolutely no room for
But
you
you say,
to
okay, but you say,
certainly is there going to ask for sympathy.
You say you don't want anybody.
So, we start with two forms of fallacious thought patterns. Well, these are delivered in argument form, so I would consider them to be arguments. He's asked to defend the things that he says, so he gives his argument. His argument is, no, what I say is fine, because what about them over there? A very typical whataboutism. What about them over there? They bad too. Therefore, what I do, which is bad, is fine, because they bad over there as well.
Okay, this is a thing that gets brought up often, that if somebody does a bad thing and then somebody else does a bad thing, it's the same type of bad thing. That's not true. There are standards that can be set, and when you set those standards, other people operating in these environments according to the standards that you've set don't have the same culpability that you do. I don't know how else to express that. I think intuitively everybody knows it, but people will wheel out these incredibly absurd arguments just to win a debate or prove a point. Now, the most obvious example of this would be something like self-defense, right? Somebody goes to punch you or attack you, and then you hit them back. You know, nobody would say to that person like, "Wow, you're sinking to their level by punching back." That's not true, right? They've set the standard for the behavior now, and in order to function or survive in a given environment, like there might be behavior that you have to match there. Now, you can still say that the behavior is bad, or you can still criticize the behavior for a number of reasons, but you can't just say, oh, two wrongs don't make a right. That's not, I don't believe that's a good counter argument there. I don't think you're really saying anything of substance or value there.
Then he moves into point two, which is the justification for they bad over there.
Oh, and then also, whataboutism also is when you refuse to acknowledge any part of your own argument and you only deflect to another person's argument. Whataboutism is, I don't believe it's the same thing as you justifying a particular argument with another thing, right? So if somebody says, hey, why did you shoot that guy? And I go, well, because he was aiming a gun at me first. That's not whataboutism. That's I'm justifying my action with his, right? That's not whataboutism. This is directly in line with what we're talking about. But if somebody goes to shoot me, but I'm sorry, let's say I shoot somebody else. I was like, wait, why'd you shoot that guy? And I go, oh, well, because I heard that like Frank shot John or whatever, right? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? What about John and Frank? Wait, what? Why? What? That would be a whataboutism, right? You're deflecting from the argument entirely and you're talking about a totally unrelated thing. And you're trying to parallel or mirror like the justification there, and it doesn't really make any sense or work.
They bad too. Therefore, what I do, which is bad, is fine, because they bad over there as well. Then he moves into point two, which is the justification for they bad over there too, which is here's all of the Gish Gallop points which you'll never be able to address, rather than just going.
What we could address if you want to. I can go down any of these things one at a time. Andrew is like, he's orbiting a criticism here. He's kind of correct in that like the arguments on Piers Morgan aren't that great, but that's because of the format. It's not because I'm a Gish Galloper. It's because on Piers Morgan, you've got 30 seconds to do your ramble, and then he just goes on to the next person. You're not really hashing out arguments in deep form on this show. It's just not the type of show for it.
Going one point at a time, which he's incapable of doing. It's conservatives said this, and then they said that, and then they did this, and then they did that, and blah, 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 blah. It's a very, very typified whataboutism argument followed by Gish Gallop. Again, none of it is concise argumentation.
So again, it is concise, and none of it is Gish Gallop. All of it is furthering the argument that if my thesis here is, well, first of all, if you're attacking me saying, hey, you are escalating the rhetoric in this country by engaging in violent rhetoric. And if my counter is, well, actually, no, I'm not. I'm matching the current state of rhetoric because conservatives are already done A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's not whataboutism, and that's not a gish gallop. I'm saying that my conversation is not escalating or turning up the temperature on the rhetoric. It's not making things more extreme because we're already that extreme. And here are examples of it. None of this is whataboutism. None of this is gish gallopy. All of this is like pretty clear and concise. It's like, nothing is, I think I've made any huge logical fallacies or whatever at this point, I would say.
Rhetoric.
But he killed. And yet you say, I don't think I have much sympathy about the attempt to chastise people celebrating it. People celebrating the near assassination of Donald Trump. If you can't find it in you to chastise people who do that, aren't you just as despicable as the people you just spent the last 2 minutes haranguing?
Is Piers going right for the hypocrisy? Because from Piers's perspective, if you can point out that somebody's a hypocrite, then at least optically that's a massive win, which is true. From the political standpoint,
that's kind of funny because technically an appeal to hypocrisy is almost definitionally a whataboutism, right? Like pointing out whether or not somebody is hypocritical isn't actually an argument that addresses their argument whatsoever. Somebody could still make a good argument and be hypocritical, right? Hey, I think that rape is bad. Didn't you rape somebody 10 years ago? Oh, okay, well, I guess you win, actually. I guess rape is good then. You got me, right? Yeah, that's an appeal to hypocrisy is actually a form of fallacious argumentation. So it's funny that he congratulates Piers for engaging in sophistry or for going down a fallacious line of argumentation while criticizing me. But
because from Piers's perspective, if you can point out that somebody's a hypocrite, then at least optically that's a massive win, which is true. From the political standpoint, if you can point out hypocrisy, it usually is a winning principle. People have a hard time defending against it. People associate hypocrisy with theft and nefarious, other nefarious things. They associate it with fraud, theft, everything in between. They consider hypocrites to be kind of in the same league as those other nefarious things, whether they are.
All of what he's talking about right now is an ad hominem style of argumentation. Rather than try to reject the argument, we're going to attack the character. And hopefully, if we can besmirch the character enough, and we've impeached the character enough, we can say that the argument is bad just because the character is bad. But this is sophistry. This is a form of illogical argumentation. So I don't know why he's like so strict on all of his like debater terms and everything. And then as soon as we come into an argument that he likes, now all of a sudden the sophistry is okay. But okay.
They are or they aren't. That's how people perceive them to be. So from a political standpoint, it's very effective rhetoric. Matt Fleming for $5 says, I remember being called a Yahtzee and baby killer for the crime of supporting the troops in Iraq in 2004. The vile language always starts from the left. Well, they're sloganeers primarily. They're no good at arguing. They're good at sloganeering.
No, because they've led the way. This is the environment that they've created.
So you think behaving like
So once again, Destiny says, no, it's not hypocrisy. All I'm doing is operating within the frame of what's being presented here, which is that they over there bad, and I'm just doing the same bad thing they do.
people you think are despicable is the correct course of action.
Not behaving like the people who are despicable would be leading that type of rhetoric. It would be denying every single bad thing. How many times as a liberal? How many times as a liberal have you been on a show? Not you in general, but like a liberal been on a show and you've been forced to disavow all the BLM riots, disavow all the violence and blah blah blah. And then you talk to conservatives like
disavow violence. That's good. Yeah.
January 6th. Oh,
I laid this out way better than I thought I did. Bro, when they were texting me for this show, this is my fault, but when the producer was messaging me, he started switching from EST to UK time. And he labeled it, but I don't know why he started switching time zones. I thought this was at 5. I woke up at like 11:03 and I was supposed to be on at 11 and they were like, you need to come do this. I'm like, oh shit. So this is like 3 minutes out of bed. I thought I fucked this up so hard, but I'm laying this out about as well as I could be. That's good.
Show and you've been forced to disavow all the BLM riots, disavow all the violence and blah blah blah. And then you talk to conservatives
disavow
like
violence. That's good. Yeah.
January 6th. Oh, like conservatives disavow January 6th.
Wait. First off, there's an entire cultural machine that has lied.
So now we get into the heart of it. So this is
why won't you now? He won't call me, or I'm sorry. Why doesn't he call out Ruben when I point out the hypocrisy here? Because the hypocrisy here is directly relevant to the argument, right? My argument is conservatives are turning up the rhetoric. And so when I engage in this rhetoric, I'm not turning it up at all. I'm matching the energy here, right? And I'm giving you an example of, well, here's how they turn it up. And now he's doing it. He's literally doing it. Well, hold on. I will make excuses for that. This is directly relevant to the argument.
actually decent rhetoric, right, from Destiny. Again, now Destiny using the argument of hypocrisy.
Good job.
Also fallacious argumentation. Says, wait a second, though.
But now he calls it fallacious when I do hypocrisy. I guess he meant it for Piers as well. Hypocrisy isn't always... Actually, I'm so sorry. No, hold on. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I am making a hypocritical argument here. You won't call it out, but you expect me to call it out. So you're being a hypocrite. You won't call it out. I'm trying to think if technically this even is an argument of hypocrisy. I don't know if this is actually an argument. I'm arguing that you're turning the temperature up by engaging in these actions, and now here you are. Here's an example of you engaging in these actions. The actions themselves happen to be hypocritical, I think, in this circumstance, but I don't think I'm even technically making a hypocritical argument. Because I don't actually care if Dave Rubin himself is hypocritical, right? What I care about is, well, no, I guess he's standing as an example here for the excuse making for these types of arguments, maybe.
You won't disavow X, Y, and Z, so why should I disavow this? It's actually embarrassing. Once you realize how improper the thinking patterns are of these people, it's fucking embarrassing that this is the best we get for collective representation left and right to argue about such a important issue of our time.
No, in real time. That's it. That's why conservatives deserve absolutely zero sympathy for anything that happens as a result of their rhetoric. That's it. It's so easy. Like, it's simple.
I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about, but I would say this is the type of person that the internet has broke their brain, thus leaving them with very little empathy for their co-human. I mean, a good, decent father is now dead because of this. He's had his brains blown out.
Anytime somebody makes an appeal like this, they've lost the argument every single time. I wish there was a way I could illustrate that in a debate more. I've thought about it, but I just don't think that's a good way to do it. If I just say it, I think I sound like condescending. Oh, well, if you're going to like start rambling about this guy being a dad or whatever, I guess you just admit you've lost the argument. But anytime I say that, I'm going to sound unhinged. But anytime somebody starts like grandstanding like this, again, it's Piers Morgan. We have limited time to talk. It means they've lost the argument. They know it.
Because he was defending his wife and daughter. I would hope that you have a little empathy for that.
Let me jump in there because we have a clip of what Destiny has said about that very thing. Let's listen to this.
Fuck it. Fuck the dude. The firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, you don't, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away, whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
I mean, what a sick fucking bastard. What a sick thing to say. In this case, though, to say that it's somewhat chilling to watch the meltdown of the Coomer Gremlin. I think he said these things kind of tongue-in-cheek, but then had to double down on them. He's hoping that just kind of over enough time that people will forget, and likely he's correct, that over time people move on to other things and forget all about this, and this will be considered some other arc of destiny, right? Shane Emanuel for $7 says, Andrew, have you ever been asked on the Piers Morgan show? If not, make that happen, or someone's going to make it happen. I have not been asked to go on Piers Morgan. I'd be happy to do so, as I would absolutely crush these fucking panels that they have. Badly. Demetrius, thank you for the 10. Very kind of you.
I'm going to say, I just found that repulsive, Destiny.
I wish that you...
Hey, who said I was a 2? I'm a 4, you fucker. I'm a 4. The actual bot for $5 says Destiny is a nihilist. See Destiny versus O'Connor, and yet he pro-clutches about moral consistency. It's wild. Well, nihilists can have moral standards which they self-impose and then hold you to those standards. There's nothing actually inconsistent about doing that. It's just that the standards would then self-admittedly...
Wait, hold on.
4. The actual bot for $5 says Destiny is a nihilist. See Destiny versus O'Connor, and yet he pro-clutches about moral consistency. It's wild. Well, nihilists can have moral standards which they self-impose and then hold you to those standards. There's nothing actually inconsistent about doing that. It's just that the standards would then self-admittedly have to just be I made them the fuck up, right? And if it's I made them the fuck up, then there's no particularly good reason for you to have to adhere to any of them.
Okay.
Russell VR for $10 says after comments like that and being banned on Kick and demonetized on
I don't think I am a nihilist, but okay.
Twitter, I don't understand why Destiny gained thousands of followers. Just makes no sense to me. What is wrong with these people? Well, always remember that many times people will follow you because they hate your guts. They're not always following you because they love what you have to say.
There is no room. There is no room for the hand wringing, and I will not participate.
Oh, it's not hand wringing.
The hand wringing. No, it absolutely is.
No, it's just that you have to position yourself.
So well. Conservatives can say anything. They can have any conspiracy theory.
Now we get into the typical performative spurting. The Destiny performative spurting. Head back. I'll give you all of the Destiny kind of typified spurts. First, head thrown back.
I have to make some kind of emotional appeal, right? This guy just rambled for like 15 seconds about how this guy was a firefighter and he blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no shit. Of course I'm going to have to be a bit performative here. Obviously, logical argumentation is not working because he didn't even respond to anything I said, right? Ruben didn't respond to a single logical argument I made. So what, am I just supposed to continue to hammer his head over with logical argumentation? No, of course not. Now we shift on the triangle from logos to pathos, ethos, whatever the fuck. Yeah, of course we're going to change our rhetoric at that point.
For the hand wringing, and I will not participate.
Oh, it's not hand wringing.
The hand wringing. No, it absolutely is.
No, it's just that you have to position yourself.
So
well.
Conservatives can say anything. They can have any conspiracy theory.
Now we get into the typical performative spurting. The Destiny performative spurting. Head back. I'll give you all of the Destiny kind of typified spurts. First, head thrown back in laughter. That's Spurg mode 1. As he leads into Spurg mode 1, he usually begins with Spurg mode 2, which is a lot of this. One hand or two hands.
True.
Then you have Spurg mode 3, which is, of course, speed talking. Destiny's very good at combining all three of those Spurg modes.
Thank you.
They can do anything, and then liberals are supposed to be like, oh my god, it's so tragic. Absolutely.
Let me explain my position. I'm not a conservative.
Also, keep in mind, I'm getting interrupted like every 2 fucking seconds. So of course I'm trying to talk quickly because I can't get anything out without these fuckers interrupting me.
I'm not on either side in your race, right? Here's what I think about what you did. You like to fire off, as you've done so far in this debate, about your fury, how disgusting Republicans are, how inhumane they are, how they never have any empathy, blah, 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 blah. And then you yourself actually are exactly the person that you're describing. You are inhuman. You are somebody who seems almost gleeful, that a young firefighter with a family, with a wife and children, who he was protecting as he was shot dead. He deserved what was coming to because he went to a President Trump rally.
So
hold on, wait, real quick, hold on, because I'm permabanning every time I see this comment. So I'm just letting you know before I permit. The problem is you've ceded the moral high ground, so they're able to just dismiss you out of hand. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Wrong. Liberals have no problem operating up here. If conservatives wanted to, liberals would be able to do that. If conservatives want to act like dogs for the entirety of their existence, and then you have to come down and eventually act like a dog to survive in that political arena, you don't get to say, oh, you've given the moral high ground. No, motherfucker, they've lost it for years, okay? The idea that like, okay, well, fuck, I guess if you guys are going to act unhinged at all this point in time, fuck it, we're not going to have sympathy when unhinged shit happens to you guys. Well, now you're actually the exact same as us. No, they're not. It's not even close. Remember, they set the tone. We match it. I match it. Liberals will get there.
Well, essentially, neither one of them are going to win this engagement. Both sides can walk away thinking that they've beaten the other side, and here's why. Because they're both using the same argument against each other. Morgan is fallaciously using an argument from hypocrisy, and Destiny is fallaciously using an argument from hypocrisy. Piers Morgan says, wait a second, as you say this, you're guilty of all the same things you're saying that the Republicans are guilty of, the other side is guilty of. Destiny says, yes, but I only have to do that because you created an environment in which these people could utilize this type of rhetoric to begin with, and you don't like the rhetoric, so you're the hypocrite. So they're both just calling each other hypocrites. And they're both right to a degree, so who gets the score here? Who gets the points?
Most gleeful. Destin, I'm sorry. That makes you, frankly, despicable.
The reality is that conservatives have been turning the temperature up on the rhetoric. They have been making fun of these types of events for years, and now when something happens to them, now they're looking for sympathy from the liberal side? Absolutely not. It's insane. It's unhinged. You can conduct yourself in such a manner and expect people to sorry when things happen.
Why should anybody on the right listen to a word of your hectoring and lecturing about how they should behave? And by the way, for the record, the mockery of Nancy Pelosi's husband when he was attacked by an intruder with a hammer was also despicable, right? I can see despicable behavior on all sides, and I'm happy to...
So I'm not the hypocrite, you're the hypocrite. Destiny says, I'm not the hypocrite, you're the hypocrite. Both of these are very weak, rhetorically very weak, and ultimately neither one is going to walk away with a clean W because of that. They're
I thought he just said hypocrisy arguments are really rhetorically strong.
using the same argument from a different perspective. It'd be far easier to dive into the worldview of ought here and say, well, ought people do this? And have Destiny say no, and then just ask him why he is. And then if he says, well, because the other side is doing it, yeah, but the other side ought not do that, right? Destiny says, yes. Well, then now you're in a corner. Now you're in a corner.
What?
Same argument from a different perspective. It'd be far easier to dive into the worldview of ought here and say, well, ought people do this? And have Destiny say no, and then just ask him why he is. And then if he says, well, because the other side is doing it, yeah, but the other side ought not do that, right? Destiny says, yes. Well, then now you're in a corner.
You're not cornered at all. The ought is going to be circumstantial. It's going to depend on the environment that you exist in, right? Like if you lived, like here, we could imagine this. I've heard this is true in Muslim countries. I have no idea if this is actually true or not. Okay, so I say this with I have no clue if it's true. I've heard that in a lot of Muslim countries, or at least like decently well-off ones, that if you go up to a restaurant as a hungry person, that you can always ask for food and they will always give it to you. It's like part of being a Muslim or whatever, and having restaurants or whatever, is that if a person comes up to you hungry and they don't have money and they're hungry and they ask for food, that there's like some Muslim command or whatever, that you always give those people food. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's say theoretically, let's say that was true. If society, if that was the case, that everybody had that shared moral value, and somebody comes up to you and they ask you for food, then you should give it to them, right? It seems to be morally, that's the ought there. However, if you were to live in an environment where people started to take advantage of that and steal it from you, right? And then eventually you were to say, okay, I'm not giving you free food anymore. Do you turn to that person and go, oh, so because somebody else acted immoral, now you're going to act immoral? Now you're lowering yourself to their level? You're going to start betraying your religious commandments because somebody else is acting bad, right? It's not the same, right? It's not the same. The environment will dictate the acceptable range of behaviors that allow you to survive. And when people change the environment such that certain behaviors become untenable, you can't fault people for modifying their behavior. And you sure as hell can't say they're the same as the people who changed the acceptable standards of behavior. Why do you think conservatives are so entrenched in trying to take the moral high ground? I don't know. I don't know how it happened. Like I said, because conservatives have been able to set all the standards all the time. Like, for instance, look right now, how many conservatives have such strong opinions about about how democratic our primary process is? Like, where was the same liberal condemnation of like Donald Trump not debating Nikki Haley, or Donald Trump saying he wouldn't participate in any events? Like liberals don't even have opinions about it. Like there's a little bit, like every now and then, like a news thing will say about it, but it's not even remotely at the same level as conservatives being so interested in the Democratic. It's not even close. Yeah, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how we got here. I'm not sure.
Now you're in a corner because now you're doing that which you yourself consider to be immoral.
My issue with the MAGA kids is not that they are not empathetic. My issue is that they support a president that led an insurrection against the United States. I'm not here to tone police over there.
80 million people voted for Donald Trump last time around.
That's great. 80 million people voted for a guy that tried to insurrect the government, and it looks like they might try to do it again. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. These are the facts on the ground. The idea that
so you don't like a tax on democracy.
Ooh, that was dismantled so well. Yes. Do you think the number matters?
They tried to insurrect the government, and it looks like they might try to do it again. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. These are the facts on the ground. The idea that
so you don't like a tax on democracy. So presumably you would unreservedly condemn the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, because that's one of the most egregious attacks on American democracy in modern times. Presumably, you would take this opportunity, given you are so determined to protect the integrity of democracy, you would find it absolutely outrageous that someone has tried to assassinate a president, right?
If the other conservatives on this show want to say that it was absolutely outrageous to coup the government, then maybe I would. Yeah, no.
Again, he's still right back to the argument of hypocrisy. Sure, all you have to do is disavow what happened here, and then I'll disavow this. Otherwise, you aren't consistent. However, that doesn't mean he's being consistent with his framework either. So essentially, all that we've established here is that Destiny points out you're a hypocrite and is pointed back to him, but so are you. So what have we gained here? Nothing. JJ Matt for $10 says the Pelosi husband situation was fun.
Yeah, but the difference is I'm willing to. Do you see the difference though? Like, it should be very obvious what the difference is, right? I'm sitting here saying, like, I would condemn this absolutely, as I have condemned a lot of left-leaning violence, if you'll join me in condemning conservative violence. When they refuse to join me in condemning all violence, how am I, like, the same? There's a difference, right? There's two of us here. Destiny is willing to say 1 and 2, and Dave Rubin is only willing to say 2. How are we the same? It's not the same. And then Destiny says, well, I'm not going to say 1, if you're not willing to say 1 and 2, I'm not going to say 1 and 2. Like, I'm just going to sit here and do this. And it's like, oh, well, now you become the same. No, the willingness on my end is much different than the willingness over here, which I think I demonstrated like 3 times. When I asked them, will your conservative panelists, will they condemn January 6th? Will they say anything about this? And every time, like, oh, it's way different, actually. Oh.
Funny, because Pelosi is for mental ill people running rampant in her city. Yeah, that's true. It was ironic.
I'm not going to get on my knees and beg for forgiveness or show sympathy.
I'm asking for that. I'm asking you to condemn what happened as an egregious attack on democracy. Can you do that?
No, I won't.
You can't do that. You see, so why the hell?
Absolutely not.
Why the hell should we listen to a word you have to say?
Why do you think
nobody's listening anyway? I think I say that. Please, I'm pretty sure I say that at some point, right?
conservatives haven't been listening to a word that liberals have said about anything for 8 years?
Right, but why should they?
And I go, oh my God, this was so horrible.
Here's my point.
Wow, that is true.
Charlie, I'll bring you in at the end of this. I promise you, and you'll get a good chance to respond. But here's my problem, Destiny, with your whole position on this, right? Is that you don't actually have anything.
It's not actually a moral pissing contest. So think about how this argument has gone so far. The argument from both of them, we start with this premise that both of them do actually think that this is bad. Morgan thinks it's bad. The Coomer Gremlin thinks it's bad, right? The Coomer Gremlin's not willing to say that it's inappropriate, but he's saying, okay, yes, it's bad. Technically, it's bad. And Morgan says, yeah, technically, it's bad as well, right? Both of them agree on this premise. What the argument is about is over which one is a hypocrite, which one is, even after the agreement to that premise, which one is being more hypocritical. Is it Morgan, who isn't holding conservatives to the same standard by Destiny's worldview? This is what his basic argument is. And so
yeah, but I'm not here. But I'm not. It's not just me and Piers Morgan. And I think I even say that. I think I literally say I'm not going to do it in front of conservatives, right?
Or he's a hypocrite, or is it Destiny, who he himself thinks that this is not rhetoric which is good for anybody, but until Republicans back off, this is the environment they created, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander. This is kind of what the argument is being reduced to. Calvin says, I'm not going to get on my knees, Destiny's biggest lie of the debate. Yeah, no shit. No shit, definitely done that.
Inside you that you want the other side to have. You don't have any of the empathy. You don't have any sympathy. You don't care that someone tried to assassinate Donald Trump. You don't care that a young fireman family was killed in the process. You don't actually, you are not the person you want these other people to be. And all you do is play whataboutery with every question I give you.
Now, Morgan's right about that. All Destiny has done is play whataboutism. But Morgan should have called that out earlier in the
It's not what about. Every single time you bring up another thing, that's not whataboutism. That's not what that means.
Conversation and said, okay, can you make your argument?
Why are these guys obsessed with your sex life? I think that secretly, I think that they want me to be a cuck, and then they want to imagine being a cuck. I think a lot of these conservatives, it's kind of like how Mormons are the ones that like look up gay sex shit the most online. I think a lot of these guys fantasize about cuckoldry. I think a lot of them fantasize about like sucking dick and cum and all that shit. So when they see me, they like try to live out their fantasies by typing fan fictions about what they think I do in my free time.
Without pointing at some other group for why what they're doing is bad, can we talk about why what you're doing is bad? And I don't think that Destiny would have a damn thing he could say at that point.
I'm just starting.
We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the temperature of this country. Here's a question for the two panelists. What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric? What do they think the answer to that question is?
What percentage?
It's low, but see, notice how Piers won't even let them answer, right? He doesn't even give them an opportunity to fuck it up. But they still do, because you still hear Ruben in the background squeaks out, very little, I think he says. What does he say? Or low or not much?
What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric? What do they think the answer to that question is?
What percentage could it be that the other side, as we've just heard from...
Very little. You see him back here? Very little. And I think the lady shakes her head a little.
Percentage could it be that the other side, as we've just heard from Dave Rubin, has spent 8 years calling Donald Trump the new Adolf Hitler, a person who was responsible for the murder of 12 million people, including 6 million Jewish people, in a Holocaust. Last time I checked, Donald Trump hasn't murdered 12 million people. So much as you would like him to be the new Hitler, he's not. But again, for an impressionable, young, deranged mind who has easy access to guns, that can be easily interpreted as an existential threat, said President Biden. Somebody that needs to be put in the bullseye, said Biden. Only last week. And guess what? Somebody then comes forward and tries to kill the existential threat.
Who was engaged in more divisive rhetoric for 8 years? You're going to assign a rough percentage.
Again, you're playing whataboutery. Again, you're deflecting. Just as Joe Biden did last night.
Like, you understand, to turn up the temperature, we have to talk about the temperature in the room, right? Like, it's like me coming in and somebody's like, wow, Destiny, now that you're in the room, it's 85 degrees Fahrenheit in here. And then I'm like, excuse me, what was the temperature like 2 hours before I got in here? That's whataboutism, sir. That doesn't count. You can't talk about it. Like, wait, what the fuck? If it was 84 degrees before I got in here and then I came in and I was 85, how the fuck are you holding me? That's whataboutism, actually. No, it's not. What? It's kind of important.
Just as Joe Biden did with Lester Holt on NBC last night, every time he was asked, have you done any soul searching about your own rhetoric, your own ill-advised...
Yeah, somebody aptly points out in the chat that there is a second fallacy which is going on here, which is the tu quoque fallacy, or the what about you, though fallacy. What about you? How about you, though? Before you start pointing out X, Y, and Z, what about you? Again, fallacious form of argumentation. It's actually a fallacious form of thinking in general. Okay. Right? There are proper ways to think.
True.
And if you're thinking in terms of the fallacious, you're thinking improperly. JJ from IA says for $20, what the fuck? Left's been demonizing the right with dangerous rhetoric for decades. Yes, everybody knows that.
His use of language, he deflected it back to attacks on Trump. And you're doing exactly the same thing with Republicans.
You say
Republicans are... You say that they are lacking in empathy.
When Donald Trump was saying Second Amendment people could maybe do something about Hillary Clinton. Like, no, it's absolutely deranged. The double standard that's being asked here is insane. And you heard both of them say earlier, how much did Donald Trump's rhetoric contribute to the current environment? Oh, not much at all. Like, no, I'm not going to say anything to these people. Of course not.
You see, that's...
What about you, though? No one to you for $10 says, I don't find anything offensive. I just can't afford to even try to respect the kid again in any way. I tried. What is there to respect? What is there to respect? It's always been a belief structure of mine that respectable men focus primarily on two things, which is their family and their family. Those are the two.
Base.
That's what I think is the ultimate form of status symbol and the ultimate form of respect between men. If you want to get the most amount of respect from other men, treat your family well. Have a good, well-adjusted family who obviously cares about you. You'll get more respect than if you're a billionaire. You'll get more respect than if you drive the Bugatti. You'll get more respect than any of them get. Those men, even those men, will have respect for you. They can't help it. It's written into us. It's even culturally written into us.
First off, politics is downstream from culture, right? And what has happened to our culture in the last 8 years? What has happened to our culture is that
Too bad Andrew can't be as honest as you were when you reviewed his debate. Yeah, because everybody's like fucking mind fucked on whatever their personal opinions are. It's hard to break people out of that, but you know.
mainstream media has lied about everything, always to the detriment of right-leaning people, whether it is from the Russia hoax or COVID or Brett Kavanaugh's a serial rapist or the Covington kids are racist or Jesse Smollett was lynched or whether it was very fine people on both sides. Every single lie always goes against right-leaning people. So they are slightly annoyed and distrustful of people like you and other people in mainstream media who lie about.
I should have I could have gone over. Oh, hi. Oh, thank you, sir.
Very hot.
Always goes against Covington kids are lied about everything, always to the detriment of right-leaning people, whether it is from the Russia hoax or COVID.
So the Russia hoax, Mueller did the investigation, and then the investigation turned out nothing, and then it ended.
Or Brett Kavanaugh's a serial rapist. Is that the mainstream media has lied about everything, always to the detriment of right-leaning people, whether it is from the Russia hoax or COVID or Brett Kavanaugh.
COVID, I don't even know what you could say for COVID. For Brett Kavanaugh was seated on the Supreme Court. He had his hearing. Whatever accusations the lady made, he had his hearing, and it was done.
Kavanaugh's a serial rapist or the Covington kids are racist or Jesse
Covington kids got a massive payout. They won their defamation thing in court, and they got a huge payout.
Smollett was lynched or whether it was very fine people on both
The
sides.
Jesse Smollett thing, he got a criminal conviction. You see how none of these things are like? You see how like all of these things had consequences? Every single thing he brought up basically had consequences for it. What is he talking about?
Every single lie always goes against right-leaning people. So they are slightly annoyed and distrustful of people like you and other people in mainstream media who lie about literally everything.
Well, not only that, but they'll justify the use of any sort of coercion or violence by any means necessary if they think that will push their political advocacy to the next level. They don't care. Why do you suddenly think that a bunch of nihilists are going to have any sort of actual epistemic grounding or something that they're appealing to beyond themselves for the purposes of power? They want the world rewritten in their image. They want everything to be rewritten in their image only. They don't give a flying fuck about you. I don't know where you ever came up with the idea that they did. They don't give a fuck. Join us over at thecrucible.video.
The Fox News thing had consequences. I don't know if that's a good argument, just posting a response. What are you talking about? I don't think any of us brought up a Fox News thing here. He's talking about Dominion. Oh, yeah, Dominion did. Yeah, that's good. Although nobody even knows about it, apparently. Everybody knows about Jesse Smollett, though. This is so good, Nathan. Eat this.
Trump and Butler County's J.D. Vance are the last chance to save our country politically. I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind. And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side. Trump and Butler County.
Nice. Okay. We need to get through today. We can get through these two. Okay, let me use the restroom real quick, and then I'll be back 1 sec. What is this Elon Musk interview? Elon Musk says he was tricked into signing documents for his son Xavier by professionals who claimed that the boy would commit a suicide unless he went through with it. Xavier was then transitioned to the opposite gender. These people are monsters. What is this? Nice, Josiah.
Happened to one of my older boys, where I was essentially tricked into signing documents for one of my older boys, Xavier. This is before I had really any understanding of what was going on, and we had COVID going on, and so there was a lot of confusion. I was told, Xavier might commit suicide if he.
That was a lie right from the outset.
Incredibly evil, and I agree with you that.
What the fuck is he even saying? I got tricked into signing documents for my kid. It was COVID, so there was a lot of confusion. About what? It's like getting caught with a cock in your ass. It's like, oh, well, it was COVID time, so I wasn't really sure what was going on here.
That was a lie right from the outset.
Incredibly evil, and I agree with you that people that have been promoting this should go to prison.
That's
so I was tricked into doing this, and
this seems like it's really cut. I don't know if I trust. I don't know. Colin Ruggers.
That have been promoting this should go to prison.
That's
so I was tricked
here.
into doing this, it wasn't explained to me that puberty blockers are actually just sterilization drugs. Anyway,
I mean, they're not.
And so
What?
I lost my son, essentially. They call it.
Keep in mind, the same people, okay, that went kicking and screaming through the night about how, ivermectin is not a horse dewormer. Just because some people might be buying a horse dewormer, and because ivermectin in certain doses can be a horse dewormer, doesn't mean you can call a horse dewormer. Like, these people say, oh, puberty blockers, those are sterilization drugs. Those are for chemical castration. Okay, bro. Cats greater than dogs. Thank you.
Dead naming for a reason.
Yeah,
All right, so the reason it's called dead naming is because your son is dead. So my son Xavier is dead. Killed by the woke mind virus.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah. So.
Well, at least he has like 12 more kids, I guess, so.
Yeah, and there's lots of people in that situation now.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not pretty.
a ton of them.
And lots of demolished kids.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
So-
that's a good reason to be the final straw. All right, so let's.
So I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus after that. And we're making some progress.
Well, at least he's honest about, being politically partisan.
Join the club.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Wow, Mr. Midnight. Cats greater than dogs. We got a big cat lover in chat. Uh-oh. Which of these two men is more awkward in your opinion? Definitely Elon. Jordan Peterson can be awkward, but he can be a little bit more performative. What is this? Project 2025 version 2.0 launched by establishment Dems. I criticize both sides on the podcast, including Trump, and I have many people on who criticize Trump, including you. Sorry for the need to tweet this instead of calling privately. This sucks, brother. Can somebody link me? Go. Okay, fuck it. We'll do this for 2 seconds in chat. Can somebody link me a single criticism on Lex Friedman's Twitter of Donald Trump? I just want to see one. Show me one. Just show me one. Let's do before 2024. What? No shot. Is this right? Oh, I spelled his name wrong. Like to talk to Trump on podcast. What the fuck is this? Oh, this is probably the date of an original tweet. I don't know why this is November 29th about assassination attempts, but people are link advanced search. Okay. Too late. Don't care. Already lost interest. Cats greater than dogs. Mr. Midnight, chill. Jesus Christ. Unhinged. Oh, we have one tweet in chat. Okay. Biden wins. Trump declares victory. We're living in a simulation. Okay. Okay, wait. Let's see if we can guess what's in. I have no idea, okay? We might be way off. I'm going to see if we can guess in 10 minutes what they have in here. I have no idea what this video is about. Maybe we'll be completely wrong. 1 is going to be genocide in Israel. 2 is going to be something about selling out to big pharma. 3 is going to be something about... it'll be the coup of the Democratic primary. What else? Project 2025. Something about student loan debt? We'll just stay with these 3. We'll see if we can hit these 3, okay? All right, good luck.
You've probably heard about Project 2025, a coalition of horrifying policy proposals that they could give to a second Trump administration. But according to a new Politico report, establishment Democrats have their own version of Project 2025, which is explicitly designed to fight progressives. While Project 2025 is about policy, the Moderate Power Project, as it's known, is about creating a talent bank of personnel. The initiative, which is led by the centrist think tank Third Way, proposes that progressives in the Biden administration, like Lina Khan of the FTC, for example, are actually
it's a random think tank proposing a plan to foster talent? Oh. What?
Actually the real reason Biden is unpopular. So the Moderate Power Project...
That's so absurd. I'm going to interrupt.
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, this is super scary because this is a corporate rule version of Trump's fascist takeover. They're like, oh, he's doing a fascist takeover. Why don't we do a corporate takeover and squeeze the hell out of your lives and get all of your money to come to us? So Jordan's going to give you more details on that. But the idea that the average American knows Lina Khan and the FTC and the SEC and all these different things and they're worried about like the sub-secretary of labor and that's why they're against Biden? You'd have to be a moron to think that. Nobody thinks that. You only say that as an excuse because you hate regulators that would regulate corporations because you're funded by corporations. That's the whole point of this think tank, Third Way, totally and utterly funded by multinational corporations. So they're making up things that you know as a normal person. Have you ever heard a single MAGA guy or an independent go, I can't believe what Undersecretary Khan is doing? Come on, man, it's absurd. It's absurd. By the way, I don't think she's an undersecretary. Okay.
I mean, on that point, though, the only time I ever see her name mentioned is if I just happen to turn on CNBC or go to the website. It's just business interests. Those are the only people who really know who she is and care because they don't want regulation. That's it.
Yeah, and they put out preposterous things like this because they know the media is also corporate and they're not going to challenge them on their insane things. And the number one way that the media helps these guys is by constantly calling them moderate. When in reality, if you poll positions of Third Way and corporate Democrats like that, they're radicals. None of their positions are past like 35% of popularity. They range from like 10% to 35%. A tiny, tiny, tiny minority of people who just happen to have all the money, and then they get called moderates by corporate media. But now the rest of the story.
So this Moderate Power Project, their goal is to make sure that every administration official serving under the next Democratic president is as corporate and as middle of the road as possible. Destine Hicks Lundy, a former Biden White House staffer who joined Third Way to lead this initiative, told Politico, we're ensuring that center-left Democrats have a seat at the table. We're making contact with every moderate Democrat that is interested.
Center-left Democrats have a seat at the table. Oh my God, corporate Democrats, you have all the seats at the table. Like, we barely got a couple of seats and you guys are like living over it. Oh, when will the poor corporate Democrats be represented in government?
the most marginalized group of people.
Oh yeah, it's like 98% of the Democratic Party.
She continues, they may not have a degree from an Ivy League institution.
Except they all do.
But they know how important it is to talk to voters in the middle about restoring order at the border and not to center your entire clean energy pitch on the climate benefits of EVs. As a group, these are people who understand how important it is for Democrats to hold the middle and would be critical advocates as decisions are being made to ensure that our ideas and messages will appeal to a broad coalition of voters. Third Way Communications Director Kate DeGruyter stated, the center-left tends to win at the ballot box, and then we're outgunned the other 364 days of the year. And so we have to recognize that there's an investment required in being able to make sure that the ideas we see are popular, that are resident with voters, are actually being carried out. Now, Third Way has stated that their goal is to raise $10 million for the Moderate Power Project, but that raises some clear conflicts of interest, as the report explains as well. A talent bank at a donor-funded organization has potential to create some...
Okay, I don't care about this. All right. Elon's son is dead. No, the son transitioned, and for him, that's like a death, basically. Okay. Boring time. Wait. No. $9:40 before you start? Sure. And then we'll do connections in after we finish 2 subtopics. Fingers are smoking from that 946. Wait, I can never do this. Fucking lyrics fuck my brain up. Okay. We've got this, wait. Yeah. We've got these, wait. All right, I think for this, I think I would steal this literally right from the J6 report. Oh shit, I haven't seen these. Video exhibits. Oh my God, there's so much. There's video footage here too? Oh shit. I've never even seen this section. I've only ever seen the PDF. Oh my God. This is 500 megabytes. What's your take on Zettelkasten system for Obsidian? Never used it, no clue. Okay. I believe there is a part here, not in the executive summary, where they literally go through like fake claim, him pushing it, fake claim, him pushing it, like him being informed that it was a fake claim, and then him pushing it again. It's my table of contents. Here we go. Might be here. The Four Seasons. Oh my fucking God. Fuck. Oh, here we go. Is there more listed? Than just what's in the executive summary? Is there another part lower on? Oh, yeah, okay. Should we do a table here? Wait. Control P, insert table. Why do you seem uninterested in Project 2025? It's probably because I know conservatives want to do bad shit, and I don't. I mean, like, I already know that. I don't need like a. I don't need a layout of like them wanting to do bad shit. I already know that. Yeah. Please just copy paste easily. Don't make me have to manually format all this. Oh, thank you. We just throw all this in here. Can I just do yes? Okay. Would it be worth having on hand exactly how the Trump admin is connected to Project 2025? No, I don't care about that. I don't give a fuck about that. There's enough, okay? There's enough horrible shit that he's done that I don't even want to begin to get into policy. I don't even need to. And most conservatives don't even give a fuck about it or know about it anyway, so who cares? I'd rather focus on how we try to overthrow the fucking government, of which there is a plethora, a wide breadth, a cornucopia of evidence of. I don't need to jump into like trying to prove ties to Project 2025 and these things that he will. I don't care. I don't need it. Don't need it. Not even relevant. After this, do you genuinely think you're done with U.S. politics for a while, regardless of how the election goes? I think it would be a lot of fun to go through all of the Federalist Papers. Every single one I've read so far has been like super fascinating, I think. Wait, fuck. There's a way to delete. Isn't there? Wait, I know there's a way to delete this. No. What the fuck? Okay. And then we're gonna click this and it's just gonna work. Beautiful. Okay. PDF page 48. When was this published? December 22nd, 2022. Why are some of these dates not organized correctly? 2022, okay. December 22nd, 2022. 2024, 07, 22. Okay. These are, people always talk about like Trump's intent, or like maybe Trump knew that, or he didn't know that these things were actually fake, right? Maybe he actually genuinely believed them. And I think some of the strongest evidence laid out against that claim is how many times he was informed that a particular thing was not true and then continued to repeat it anyway with absolutely no evidence. So am I able to make new lines within these? I am. Okay. So then Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen. Wait, hold on. There was a date that was fucked up in here. This 2023 July. Okay. And so he said, well, what about this? I saw it on the videotape, somebody delivering a suitcase of ballots. And we said it wasn't a suitcase, it was a bin. That's what they use when they're counting ballots. It's benign. And then Trump, 1 week later, there's even security camera footage from Georgia that shows officials telling poll watchers to leave the room before pulling suitcases of ballots out from under the tables, continuing to count for hours. You've got Donahue telling him on at least 2 separate occasions. I told the president myself that several times in several conversations that these allegations about ballots being smuggled in a suitcase and run through the machine several times, it was not true. That we looked at it. We looked at the video, we interviewed the witnesses, that it was not true. I believe I was in the phone call on December 27th. I was also in a meeting in the Oval Office on December 31st. And then Donald Trump, later that week, says, hold on, we need these. She stuffed the machine. She stuffed the ballot. Each ballot went through 3 times. They were showing, here is ballot number 1. Here is a second time, third time, next ballot. This never happened. I don't even know what he could possibly be thinking of here. Like, he's completely just, that's yeah, unless somebody has a video, I have no idea what he's even referring to there. You're talking about the state. Oh, and this is Raffensperger. You're talking about the State Farm video, and I think it's extremely unfortunate that Rudy Giuliani or his people, they sliced and diced that video and they took it out of context. We did an audit of that and proved conclusively that they were not scanned 3 times. Yes, Mr. President, we'll send you the link from WSB. Boom. And then Trump says, I don't care about a link, I don't need it. And then President Trump, 1 day later, I spoke to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger yesterday about Fulton County and voter fraud in Georgia. He was unwilling or unable to answer questions such as the ballots under table scam, ballot destruction, out-of-state voters, dead voters, and more. He has no clue. That's just a lie, right? We listened to that whole phone call. This is just a total fucking lie. Attorney General Barr. Then he raised the big vote dump, as he called it in Detroit. And you know, he said people saw boxes coming into the counting station at all hours of the morning and so forth. I said, Mr. President, there are 630 precincts in Detroit, and unlike elsewhere in the state, they centralized the counting process, so they're not counted in each precinct. They're moved to counting stations, and so the normal process would involve boxes coming in at all different hours. And I said, did anyone point out to you, did all the people complaining about it point out to you, you actually did better in Detroit than you did last time? I mean, there's no indication of fraud in Detroit. President Trump, 1 day later, I'll tell you what's wrong, voter fraud. Here's an example. This is Michigan. At 6:31 in the morning, a vote dump of 149,772 votes came in unexpectedly. We were winning by a lot. The batch was received in horror. In Detroit, everybody saw the tremendous conflict. There were more votes than there were voters. Statement by Donahue. The president then continued, there are more votes than voters, but I was aware of that allegation, and I said, you know, that was just a matter of them comparing the 2020 votes cast to 2016 registration numbers. That is not a valid complaint. President Trump, 10 days later, more votes than they had voters. and many other states also. Another statement by Donahue. We would say to him, you know, we checked that out and there's nothing to it, and we would cite to certain allegations, and so, like such as Pennsylvania, right? No, there were not 250,000 more votes reported than there were actually cast. That's not true. So we would say things like that. President Trump, 3 days later. In Pennsylvania, you had 205,000 more votes than you had voters. And the number is actually much greater than that now. That was as of a week ago, and this is a mathematical impossibility unless you want to say it's a total fraud. Secretary of State Raffensperger again. What is that shortcut? Why? Oh, there we go. Okay, whatever. Oh, if I just bracket the first, or cancel the first bracket, then okay. Trump, it's 4,502 people who voted, but they weren't on the voter registration roll, which they had to be. You had 18,325 vacant address voters. The address was vacant, and they're not allowed to be counted. That's 18,325. And then Raffensperger says, well, Mr. President, the challenge that you have is the data that you have is wrong. President Trump, 2 days later, 4,502 illegal ballots were cast by individuals who do not appear on the state's voter rolls. Well, that's sort of strange. 18,325 illegal ballots were cast by individuals who registered to vote using an address listed as vacant, according to the Postal Service. Secretary of State, so Raffensperger again. Trump saying, so dead people voted, and I think the number is close to 5,000 people, and then went to obituaries. They went to all sorts of methods to come up with an accurate number, and a minimum is close to about 5,000. Raffensperger replies, the actual number were two people that were dead that voted, so that's wrong. President Trump 4 days later, the number of fraudulent ballots that we've identified across the state is staggering. Over 10,300 ballots in Georgia were cast by individuals whose names and dates of birth match Georgia residents who died in 2020 and prior to the election. No. Oh my God, I pushed the wrong button. Wait. Trump. You had out-of-state voters. They voted in Georgia, but they were from out-of-state, 4,925. Ryan Germany says, everyone we've been through are people that lived in Georgia, moved to a different state, then moved back to Georgia legitimately. They moved back in years ago. This was not like something just before the election. So that's something about, there's something about that data that's just not accurate. Oh, and then this is when Trump was like, who would move back to Georgia? And he laughs about it. Who would move back to Georgia? President Trump 4 days later. And at least 15,000 ballots were cast by individuals who moved out of the state prior to the November 3rd election. They say they moved right back. From the White House press secretary. Wait, I have to kill these stupid brackets. The one specific I remember referencing was, I don't agree with the Dominion track. I specifically referenced waving him off of the Dominion theory early in my testimony. Are you saying you think he still continued to tweet that after you waved him off of it? She says yes. Donald Trump, between mid-November and January 5th. What is it? Leave this here. Between mid-November and January 5th, 2021, President Trump tweeted or retweeted conspiracy theories about Dominion nearly 36 times. Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller. The international allegations for Dominion were not valid. Okay, did anybody communicate that to the president? I know that was communicated. I know I communicated it. President Trump. You have Dominion, which is very, very suspect to start off with. Nobody knows the ownership. People say the votes are counted in foreign countries, and much worse. Attorney General Barr. I specifically raised the Dominion voting machines, which I found to be one of the most disturbing allegations. Disturbing in the sense that I saw absolutely zero basis for the allegations. I told him that it was crazy stuff, and they were wasting their time on that, and it was doing great, great disservice to the country. President Trump, 3 days later, no, fuck. Those machines are fixed. They're rigged. You can press Trump and the vote goes to Biden. All you have to do is play with a chip. And they played with a chip, especially in Wayne County, Detroit. Bar again. I explained, I said, look, if you have a machine and it counts 500 votes for Biden and 500 votes for Trump, and then you go back later and you have you will have 1,000 pieces of paper put through the machine, and you can see if there's any discrepancy. There has been no discrepancy. Donald Trump, 1 day later, in one Michigan county, as an example, that used Dominion systems, they had found that nearly 6,000 votes had been wrongly switched from Trump to Biden, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is what we caught. How many didn't we catch? Another statement from Barr. I will, Mr. President, but there are a couple of things. I responded. My understanding is that our experts have looked at the Antrim situation and are sure it was a human error that did not occur anywhere else. And in any event, Antrim is doing a hand recount of the paper ballots, so we should know in a couple of days whether there is any real problem with the machines. President Trump, 1 day later. This is big news. Dominion voting machines are a disaster all over the county. Change the results of a landslide election. Can't let this happen. Rosen. Other people were telling him that there was fraud, corruption in the election. The voting machines were no good, and we were telling him that is inconsistent. By we, I mean Richard Donahue and myself, that was not what we were seeing. There was this open issue as to the Michigan report, and I think it was Mr. Cuccinelli, not certain, but had indicated that there was a hand recount, and I think he said that's the gold standard. President Trump, 1 day later. Study, Dominion voting machines shifted 2 to 3% of Trump votes to Biden, far more than needed to sway the election. Florida, Ohio, Texas, and many other states were won by even greater margins than projected. Did just as well with swing states, but bad things happened at OANN. National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. I got a call from, I think, Molly Michael in Outer Oval, the president assistant, and she said, I'm connecting you to the Oval. Somebody asked me, did I have any evidence of election fraud in the voting machines or foreign interference in our voting machines? And I said, no, we've looked into that and there's no evidence of it. President Trump, 1 day later. There could also have been a hit on our ridiculous voting machines during the election, which is now obvious that I won big, making it an even more corrupted embarrassment for the USA. At DNI Radcliffe, at Secretary Pompeo. Acting AG Richard Donahue to Trump again. We definitely talked about Antrim County again. That was sort of done at this point because the hand recount had been done and all that, but we cited back to what to say. This is an example of what people are telling you and what's being filed in some of these court filings that are just not supported by the evidence. President Trump, 2 days later. Well, Brad, not that there's not an issue, because we have a big issue with Dominion in other states, and perhaps in yours. In other states, we think we found tremendous corruption with Dominion machines, but we'll have to see. I won't give Dominion a pass because we found too many bad things. And then Raffensperger saying, I don't believe that you're really questioning the Dominion machines because we did a hand retally, a 100% retally of all the ballots and compared them to what the machine said and came up with virtually the same result. Then we did the recount and we got virtually the same result. President Trump, 4 days later. In addition, there is the highly troubling matter of Dominion voting systems. In one Michigan county alone, 6,000 votes were switched from Trump to Biden, and the same systems are used in the majority of the states in our country. There is clear evidence that tens of thousands of votes were switched from President Trump to former Vice President Biden in several counties in Georgia. What is the response to be when Republicans inevitably say all these people are just anti-Trump rhinos that were either unwilling to investigate or hide the true results? You can try and say that for literally every single thing. However, I guess here's what I would. Actually, you know what? I already made an exact list for this question. Fuck you. I know you're not asking about it. This was for my Jones and Greenwald debate. I think these were all the different people I found that no, why wouldn't you just copy paste correctly? Really? Just try Control Shift V. Yeah, I am. This is copied in plain text. Okay, hold on. We can do this. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna back all this up one time. Boom. I'm just a fucking genius. This was a list of people that I got from my Alex Jones and Glenn Greenwald debate for the people who did not, who Trump trusted to investigate claims of election fraud. Bill Stepien, Trump's national field director for his campaign, a lifelong Republican who also worked on Giuliani's presidential campaign from 2007 to 2008, told Trump that he'd lost on election night. Chris Miller, Trump's director of the National Counterterrorism Center, attested that Matt Okowski, Trump's campaign top data scientist, told him on election night that he was going to lose. William Barr, his attorney general of the DOJ, told Trump repeatedly that he'd investigated and found absolutely no signs of voter fraud. Jeffrey Rosen, his acting AG, called or met with Trump only every day, I think that's what it's supposed to be, every day to tell him that there was no election. Almost. That was supposed to be almost. Almost every day to tell him there was no election fraud. Richard Donahue, his acting AG, told Trump the information he was getting was false. Chris Steyerwalt, former Fox News political editor, said that Trump had no chance of winning the election after the votes were counted. Jason Miller, the Trump campaign senior advisor, informed Trump several times that there wasn't enough evidence of voter fraud to overturn the election. Mike Pence, his vice president, said that there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Matthew Morgan, the general counsel of Trump's campaign, claimed that the Trump staff, including him and Mark Short and Greg Jacob, didn't believe there was sufficient evidence of voter fraud. Brad Raffensperger, Republican Georgia Secretary of State, denied every single claim that Trump made about election fraud. Brian Kemp, the Republican governor of Georgia, denied that the election was stolen in Georgia. You had the group of prominent Republicans who were who made that report that we talked about earlier. All came out and went through the court case and said they were bullshit. 11 of the judges who ruled against Trump were Trump federal judiciary appointments. They all universally ruled against him on his cases. Ivanka and Kushner, Trump's daughter and son-in-law, prepared to move right after the election, with Ivanka stating that she believed Barr's testimony. Alex Cannon, Trump's campaign lawyer, said that he told advisors that there was no election fraud. Kellyanne Conway, Trump's counselor, wrote in her published memoirs that she had told Trump that he'd lost. And then Ken Block, a data mining firm hired by Donald Trump to find evidence of voter fraud, said that they found very little evidence of voter fraud and that it was equal on the Democratic and Republican side. Like, there are so many different people that said this. Like, I mean, all of these people are rhinos. All of these people are traitors. All of these people are yeah, down here's the acting deputy attorney general, but deputy, there you go. Black box votes hidden under the table. So we did that in Georgia. Do I bold and underline this? Control B, Control I. No, wait. Control B, Control U? Is there no underline in... Kind of bold through each of these.